Yep, that's about as clean as you can get that one. That was a hard song. Y'all went out there and y'all paid money for that. Shalom, shalom. Yes, right, y'all. This is Yehonathan Dawid with you here. There is something. How can we just kill a man? That's because this is the year of the chicken sandwich. You know, I don't really follow social media that much, and the only reason why I even do what I do is because I am an author. I have a few books out there now. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even deal with this world in a social setting as I do now. I do as little as possible. I don't even keep in touch with what's going on because it's just 99% garbage. Things like the craziness of the chicken sandwich lines going around I didn't even know about until 4 days later when others told me about it. Mass murders that happen, they happen so often I don't even know about it. I'm so out of touch with what's going on daily. I had to order the Sun online, the e-paper, to help get me caught up. I looked at it this morning for the first time in 7 days. So it's because most of it is distractions. And there's really one answer to everything ultimately. But we could be manipulated, we as a people, by a chicken sandwich, Black Panther, Denzel Washington getting an Oscar for the movie he made, Halle Berry for getting the first female black Oscar for the movie that she made. Both of them, which were ridiculous movies, and they did much better work. Even go back to when Doug Williams was the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl. We get distracted by anything. Tiger Woods, Serena Williams, Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, Ali. More of us know Uncle Drew than Dr. Drew. What did Dr. Charles Drew do? We know Uncle Drew, O.J. Simpson, Barack Obama. We just love foolishness. None of these people, including Barack Obama, did anything good for us as a people. Now, yes, I did jump and holler when O.J. got let off, and I was still an activist back then. Because what happened to Rodney King in '92, which he was a fool, ended up killing himself anyway. But that was only because the year before, the injustice that happened to Latasha Harlins is why I still was in outrage when the Rodney King thing happened. Two totally different scenarios. Latasha Harlins getting shot in the back of her head, 12-year-old girl. But uh, we are distracted. We had a chicken sandwich mentality. That's why some of us can go out there and just kill a man. What is the answer to all this violence? You know, the conditions, we got to be thinking people. And if I'm anything else, I'm a thinking person. These conditions go far, far beyond black and white. If you're talking about black and white, you're doing exactly what the enemies want you to do. Because this is not black and white. That's a distraction. The the conditions that we're in are structured, blueprinted, the outcome is fixed, and it's not a black and white thing. And it's a good thing that is structured because the breath of life that came from the Creator is also structured. So that means whatever the devil does, he still has to operate on the blueprint that the Most High put out there. So even his attack against you must be fixed in some kind of way where if you follow the Most High, you can navigate yourself out of this world wide web. Because the Most High says all souls are his. And since all souls are his, Shaitan ultimately doesn't trust any man. Ultimately, he's going to have to go to a machine. And we're in the world of machines right now. Social media thrives on it. And the machines make everything convenient for us. Our iPhones and internet, everything is convenient. And ultimately, it's going to end up being worship. father's going to have to go through a machine because he's not going to trust any man ultimately. He's going to need a machine. Yeah, hey, you lining up a chicken sandwich. Chicken Little said the sky is falling. You say that's silly, but look indeed, the sky is falling. The situation we're in are worse, far worse than we even imagine. I thought about it. I think I will. Jason, what's the number, the calling number here? 481-1010. 481-1010. Okay, but 410-481-1010. So I have actually decided I think I will take some calls today um, because I want that question answered. And it's on everybody's mind about this violence, and particularly gun violence. Most of us don't like to read. I have some DVDs here, Hebrews to Negroes 1 and 2 are great resources on your history. I don't agree with everything in there. He doesn't use the name of Yahweh. He altered this a little bit. The Indian Wars is a very excellent documentary. This, what happened to the natives here is what's happening to you here today. Same thing. Reconstruction. I talked about the Reconstruction period, which is really a reconstruction of your deconstruction. And some of the things that I know definitely from reading, but and hearing good preaching, but there are some things that you would like to have access as a resource for your knowledge. How about he spoke to them in the Hebrew language? And if you go, I'm showing these things on the screen for the YouTube channel later. This is a DVD. It's a showing, and this one is by the author is Mr. Benner. Proof of the New Testament being in Hebrew. How about this? Here's an old classic, The Transfer Agreement. It will shock you to realize, to know what really happened during the Holocaust. And of course, and I have a Bible, the Yah Bible. I don't use it because it doesn't go all the way to the name Yahweh. It just uses Yah, and it doesn't go into Yahweh Shua. But it is a good start for someone who wants to begin to hear some truth. I'll even have some giveaways with my book, Yahweh Shua. I am Original Words, Original Truth. Yahweh for Christians. I am Original Word, Original Truth. And I have other items that I would like to give away for those who call in and give me the answer, the correct answer for particularly gun violence. I'm going to give some statistics on gun violence. But we're distracted. We're distracted. We're voting, arguing about minimum wage, the drug war, gun control. Harriet Tubman on $20 bill. I was reading The Sun this morning because I had to at least look at it. Had it for a whole week coming in and never looked at it. But this Baltimore City Gun Task Force is a structured system that's been going on for a long time. And quoting from The Sun, it says that only the names and the faces change. So now Mosley wants to dismiss 800 cases that generated from the task force. That's a whole lot of cases. That's a whole lot of people coming out of jail from being improperly locked up. What is the solution? What is the solution to our violence? What's the solution to our gun control? Here's some statistics. Now, I got this from a conservative website, a conservative gun control website. So obviously they're going to support the use of guns. But in 2014, 319 million people in America own a total of 371 million guns. So we have more guns than people in America. More guns than people. Yet 60% of them said they got it for crime. 36% just to hunt, and 21% for recreation. So most of them are afraid of crime. There's more guns than people, and the solution to that is to get a gun. Some of them just like to hunt, so they don't want to go to Giants or Safeway. They want to kill their meat and eat it. So I guess that's what they're doing, huh? My daughter went to Fun Zone a few months ago, and they had that like a tag gun thing where you laser beam gun, whatever you call it, on a laser target. Laser tag, thanks. Laser tag. I actually went for the first time in my life a few weeks ago. First time ever doing laser tag. And so she had like 100 points, a very low piddly amount of points. And these two little white boys, about 8 years old, had thousands. And she asked, "How do you do it?" They said, "We just natural born killers." That's a quote from them. And that's not to say anything about race, anything with that. You just heard a Cypress Hill song. But obviously, guns are a huge factor in our society. Huge. The games are violent. And we buy them and sell them and give them to our children to sit and play murder games. It desensitizes them to what actually happens on the business end of a gun. In real life, you can't just replay it. You can't just play it back and then start over again. And the person picks up, the person is dead. 2016, 16,459 murders, 12,000 of them with firearms. 1 out of 235 people will be murdered. That's according to Just Facts Gun Control in 2016. 1 in 235. 90% of the murders tried in 1960 were convicted. In 2014, 65%. So they're overwhelmed. The court's overwhelmed. People just going through and then committing more murders. Commit more murders. From 1980 to 2008, there were 185,000 unsolved murders as of 2010. So you're having hundreds of thousands of unsolved murders. In Maryland, 77% of the homicides had prior records of criminal activity. The average person arrested in Maryland in 2015 had 9 previous arrests. 9. So, what is the solution for this gun control violence, this gun violence? What is your solution for gun control? I'm telling you from what I'm reading, it doesn't work. Okay. It doesn't work. Everything I looked at when municipalities instituted some kind of new law, the opposite effect happened. Whatever they tried to get happen, the opposite happened. Things got worse. Think about it. If you're a law-abiding, honest person with a gun, how is 10 more laws going to change you? Criminals aren't going by the law. That's why they're criminals. All you're doing is increasing gun sales. People trying to buy the latest gun before it comes off the market. It's heightening up everything. Gun shows are packed. Gun shows are packed. People buying more guns because you keep regulating the guns, and they buy them legally. Criminals aren't changing their activities. Who you got online, Jason? Okay, Leon. Go ahead, Leon. Which one? Okay. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Leon. So what is this? What is the answer to? Here it is, right here. Yeah. Go ahead. I hear you. Start over again. Go ahead. I hear you.
When they came out with that game called Pac-Man, the sports industry made millions of dollars. Then they came out with the computers, and they started to have young men on the front of Newsweek, a magazine that had hacked into ITT and places like that, and they were mostly white. And instead of criminally prosecuting them, the companies defended them and paid their college tuition and hired them. The first black guy that did a similar thing, who was on 60 Minutes, and I guess you can pull it up on the internet. He went to the federal prison years and instructed as part of his probation he was not to go near a computer for 10 years after his release.
Yeah.
And recently concluded, at least some of the people have concluded, that the gun violence that happening in America is being associated with these, these games. At one time they didn't want to admit it because so much money was being made. Now they're saying, at least in 2 instances, guns that have been used in the country to kill mass amounts of people, and the perpetrators were white, that they played games down in their rooms, or their parents admit they played them games down in the little room downstairs for years before they committed the atrocities.
So Leon, what's the answer? So if the core of it is money, and we're celebrating these criminals, and we don't prosecute the ones who are the initiators of making these games. So what's the answer?
Well, the only solution I can come up with is that we hire mental health experts to help our young black men as they are growing out of puberty, whatever, to respect one another, and because a lot of them are coming from homes where they go out in the street and they hang with their buddies, and they believe their buddies more than they do a parent at home.
So Leon, who's training these mental health practitioners? Who's training them?
Well, I imagine that very colleges across the country.
And what is the face of these educators who are educating our educators? What's the face? What does their face look like?
White.
Okay. All right, Leon. Thank you very much for calling me, man. Appreciate it. So the number is 410-481-1010. Listen, the same person who invented the bombs that dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki are the same ones who are making your guns, who's making money off of your guns, who is the same face is on both ends. It's the same one who gave you your King James Bible. It's the same face. The answer's got to be somewhere else. But Leon's right. Do you remember? There was a movie, Anthony McNeil. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He was a forgery artist. He was so good at it, when he finally got caught decades later, the FBI took him and they did the same thing. They hired him, instead of prosecuting him, he was hired to teach them how to make documents forge proof. The whole world is different now because of Anthony I think it's McNeil. The movie was Catch Me If You Can. Catch Me If You Can. Look at that movie. And he made everything now. The reason why we have different color money and different color checks and the line that's going through, the watermark, he's the reason for all of that. He's the reason for all that. So, but Pookie can shoot somebody on the street and he gets locked up for 20 years, We celebrate what we call smart criminals. We celebrate them. The answer to gun violence is not mental health. Not mental health. But I will say, those video games are a big part of it. Why are we making those video games? And it's a joke to have the age limit on games, movies. When you go online or you look at a G movie, they're advertising R-rated movies. When your child is on their laptop or their tablet, looking at age appropriate material and dealing with age appropriate games, the other games pop up also in the margins and advertising. They always get it out there. They're on the billboards, they're everywhere. These games shouldn't be made. These games desensitize young developing minds to violence. More statistics on Just the Facts gun control. You know, in 1976, DC had a handgun ban. After the handgun ban, crime went up. Crime went up. In 2008, DC finally eliminated that gun ban and crime went down. 2008. You can look it up. 1969, England and Wales made stiff gun control regulations and crime went up. In 1997, they relaxed those gun control legislation and crime went down. 1982, Chicago, they had a gun ban. Crime went up. In 2010, they relaxed it. Crime went down. Criminals are not saying, "Oh man, I can't go out and kill a man because of some law that came out." Criminals ain't changing their behavior, their activities because of some law. It doesn't make no sense. So you're gonna make a more laws against the law abiders to combat those who are not law abiding. Background checks. So from 2006 to 2010, the investigations on background checks went down 50%. They're overwhelmed. Prosecution went down 77%. Guilty pleas and verdicts went down 82%. If FBI checks takes longer than 3 days, here's something that I didn't even know. On background checks, if an FBI investigation takes longer than 3 days, the request is automatically approved. So you can have a long history of criminal activity, and if your background is not checked within 3 days, you automatically get the gun by default. This is how Dylan Roof got his gun. They did do a background check on Dylan Roof, but it took more than 3 days. And we know what happened in that church in South Carolina. 9 Christians in church dead. 2016, the terrorist suspects were able to buy guns. From 2002 to 2014, 2,233 firearms and 3 explosives were processed by the FBI. 91% of the firearms and 100% of the explosives were allowed. Can you believe that? All the explosives got through to criminals. And 91% of the firearms made it past the FBI investigations. So there it goes for your background check. You know, I asked Leon about the mental health issue. So, who's writing the books that we need to study from to teach us about mental health? You know, I told you the Hebrew word for hate is sane. In Hebrew, the word for hate is sane. Now, I don't know if you understand what I mean. In English, if someone says he is sane, they're saying the person is in their right mind. And then in English, if we say the person is insane, we say they are not in their right mind. So get this. Here in the English language, when someone is sane, in the Hebrew mind, that person is mad. It's just the opposite. So we're being run by men who are in their sane minds. They're ruling us in their sanity. But to a man who loves Yah, to a woman who loves Yah, we realize that they're really ruling us in insanity. They're insane. They're in hatred. The laws are hateful. This is not a black and white thing. The laws are hateful across the board. And navigating through them will not end up in righteousness. Navigating through these laws will not end up in an answer to what you're distracted from. Because we're being ruled by insanity. About 5,200 gun shows are through the plains of America every year. Are we that bloodthirsty? All these gun shows, it's getting up towards 6,000 gun shows a year. How many gun shows? And they are packed. All kinds of guns. And you think making another law, rule, another more background checks, more mental health, whatever, is going to do anything with all these gun shows? 77.4% of guns obtained off the streets come from family members and friends. They're not getting these guns in a legal way. How are these guns getting on the streets? Are you trusting the gun control task force of Baltimore City? Stealing money from the people that they like. I know these. Listen, every time my son got locked up, his money was stolen and taken. He ain't never got a penny back. And he ain't had nothing hardly. He didn't have thousands. He didn't have hundreds. It's just a routine matter of course. Routine matter of course. What is the solution to gun control? What is the solution? It is not. Remember, I talked about the root and the leaves. When we talk about laws and rules and regulations, those are leaves. What is the root cause? I do agree. One of the root causes is these video games. But how about the sheer proliferation of gun manufacturing? How about that? 371 million guns in 2014. So now we're like 6 years later almost. There's probably 400 million guns out there. How long would it take to melt them all down? Now put my Bible in the holster this week. If I was to whip it out, I will show you how long it takes to melt all those guns down, because it will happen. All of this world's armament will be smelted. All of it will be melted. All of it will be burned down. Because the answer is not the leaves of regulation. How about not manufacturing them in the first place? How about not manufacturing the guns? Because they're out there. They will be used. And another thing that Leon said was about the money. There's too much money being made on the manufacturing, the distribution of guns. And as long as you have the dollar involved, you will have the problem. And building more jails is not the solution. Stop making guns. Distraction. Chicken sandwiches distract us, then we're going to be distracted from anything. Anything can turn us away from what we need to look at, and that is the Most High. Yahonatan Dawit with you here, Yahweh for Christians at gmail.com, 443-306-358. Shalom, shalom.